Good evening and welcome to the 2021 Northwest Seaport Virtual Gala. Tonight, we're looking for you to help us raise the money we need to keep going and have a strong 2022 as we welcome people back to the wharf, and you can come down and join us and take advantage of all that we have to offer on these great historic vessels. Northwest Seaport is a maritime heritage nonprofit organization dedicated to the run ships and the preservation of Seattle's maritime heritage. We have 3 historic vessels: the National Historic Landmark Tugboat Arthur Foss, the National Historic Landmark Lightship Swiftsure, and the halibut schooner Tordenskjold, which was built right here in Ballard. Our programming next year is going to be ramped way up because we have missed all of you during COVID. 2021 has been a tough year for all of us. We did have a few happy hours, but we're looking for a full spectrum of programming next year, including public events, educational activities, and getting out to maritime heritage festivals around Puget Sound. And we hope to see you on the wharf.
I've never seen the like since I was born, an Arkansas farmer with the sea boots on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Ho, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Oh, hand me down my walking cane, I'm gonna see my darling Jean. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Ho, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. I love the gal across the sea, she was a Badian beauty, and she said to me, Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Ho, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Was you ever in Mobile Bay, screwing cotton for $1 a day? Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Oh, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Was you ever in Baltimore, dancing on that sandy floor? Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Oh, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Them Seattle gals is mighty fine, they don't got Bezos on their minds. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Oh, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. Oh, waker,
Waker,
shaker,
shaker,
wake that gal with a blue dress on. Johnny come down to high-low, poor old man. All right, thanks Andy and all for inviting us to talk about the Northwest Seaport Shanty Sings. Shanties and forebetters directly link us to our maritime heritage, even the Northwest, with songs of local origin and local topics. So it's really exciting to hear old songs and new songs alike. We actually sing history. During the Great Age of Sail, these shanties were sung aboard the sailing ships for just about every kind of bit of work that was done that required work in unison. And the songs, the verses, and the choruses and the refrains got that work to happen at the same time. It's much easier to pull on a line all at once than it is to do it individually. It's all about teamwork. And that's what we're asking you to be tonight for Northwest Seaport, is to be part of the crew and be part of the team. Let's see. So, we have had to, during the times of COVID, we've had to bring our shanty sings onto the virtual platform, but in the normal times, we would be singing on the Virginia 5, maybe in the Center for Wooden Boats, or on our own Arthur Foss, and singing shanties and bringing people to connecting to ships, seas, and skippers. Some of those songs, I say we sing history, but some of those songs actually are new songs. They may sound like shanties or forebetters, songs of leisure, but they're actually it's a dynamic art form. People are still relating to the sea. They're still celebrating maritime heritage in different ways. And one way they can do it effectively is by singing together in unison and harmony and hearing the power of human voice. And that's really exciting to do this program. Uh, let's see. Since the 1970s, Northwest Seaport has been the medium for maritime music in Seattle. It probably reaches back even farther, but since the days of the Wawona and the facility over in Kirkland and down at South Lake Union, it's been a place to sing songs. And since 2000, a group of volunteers have gotten together and put on a monthly shanty sing, and that's what we're still doing. Right now, we're doing it online. But we still gather about 70 people a month, either in our live sings or on the virtual platform. And what's exciting about the virtual platform is that it's worldwide. We get two persons coming from signing in, getting up early in the morning in Denmark to join our shanty sings. We have folks from Mexico, from the Eastern Seaboard, from Canada. It's really exciting to have new friends reaching across the country. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Join the crew, make a donation, support Northwest Seaport. The nonprofits have had a tough time during the pandemic. The boats are still there. They still want to tell our maritime heritage. So please support Northwest Seaport.
And come join us at the Shanty Sings every second Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time. Go to our website to sign up for the virtual link until we get to be able to go live. northwestseaport.org.
Yeah, and that's on the second Friday of the month.
2021 has been a tough year for Northwest Seaport, as it has been for everyone. But we're currently making plans to come back stronger than ever in 2022 with a range of programs on all of our vessels that will engage the public and give you an opportunity to have a great time on the water and learn a little bit more about where Seattle came from and the maritime heritage that has made this city what it is. A big focus of our work right now is finishing the deck project on the lightship, where I'm standing right now. As you can see, we've got a lot of new lumber down. The entire deck has been covered with the new lumber, but it still needs to be corked to make it watertight and to serve as the weather barrier that it's intended to be. This is a significant effort, and we really would appreciate any donations that would help us further this. We've got a lot of great, unique auction items for you to bid on tonight that'll give you special experiences that you're not going to get anywhere else. One of them is a tugboat ride through the Ballard Locks. This would be on a working tug. It's down to Harbor Island, and you get to see Seattle's working waterfront from the deck of a working tug. Another opportunity is to race in Seattle's famous Duck Dodge sailboat race. It happens every Tuesday in the summer, and you get an opportunity to be a crew member on one of the boats in the race. If you've never seen the Duck Dodge race, it's a little bit of mayhem, but it's a lot of fun with all the boats and costumes and other revelry that happens on the water. It's a great time, and you don't want to miss it. Another item is a guided tour of Lake Union from an electric boat. It's quiet, it's no emissions, it's the best way to see the lake, and your tour guide would be yours truly. I've been working around Lake Union for 25 years. I've worked in the shipyards, I've worked here at Lake Union Dry Dock, and in my day job, I've helped develop a number of projects at parks and other facilities around the lake. And so I'll give you a tour, give you some inside knowledge, some things that no one else will know, and I might be able to remember where the Sleepless in Seattle houseboat is, but that's not guaranteed. If you like salmon, you'll want to bid on the salmon barbecue on the Arthur Foss. It's hosted by Colleen Brown, a board member who also hosts our Duck Dodge happy hours on the Arthur Foss. She does a great job with the salmon, all the sides and the desserts. It's a great way to spend an evening here on the water, and we hope that you'll bid actively on that one. If you've ever been a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout and you want to relive the days of Scout Camp, but not really, we are also auctioning an overnight stay at local Boy Scout camp, but you would stay in a cabin, you would have a bunk. It's a great weekend getaway for you and a bunch of friends or family, and that's going to be a very popular item, so that's another one that you'll definitely want to be bidding on. Our auction items include a number of other foods and drink, jewelry, other experiences. There's a lot there. Go through the list, find what you like, bid early, bid often. We really appreciate all of your support. Leading the deck restoration effort is Brian Johnson, a master shipwright who has done similar work all across Puget Sound on other historic vessels, as well as lots of private boats. And he also worked up in Alaska. He's got a great wealth of knowledge in doing this sort of thing, and we're lucky to have Brian leading our efforts. Joining him is Saxon Bisbee, Northwest Seaport's vessel manager, and they're going to tell you a little bit more about the deck process, where the wood comes from, and all that goes into putting a new deck on the lightship.
Hi everyone, I'm Saxon Bisbee. I'm the vessel manager and nautical archaeologist for Northwest Seaport. I've been in this job for about 7 years now. One of only a few people doing this in the Pacific Northwest, so my job has been not just to oversee operations of these museum ships, but to actually coordinate volunteer work and all restoration projects. It's been very challenging, but that's one of the reasons we do this. And all of these ships that we have here are over 100 years old. The Swiftsure lightship, which we're on board of, is actually the oldest lightship in the United States. It was built in 1904. Some of you may be wondering what a lightship is. It's actually a floating lighthouse. This was part of the same system predating the U.S. Coast Guard that built all the lighthouses and lightships that were in service in the U.S. starting back in the early 1800s. Basically, they were needed before modern technology existed to have automated buoys or offshore towers like you would have nowadays. This ship served at all 5 West Coast lightship stations between 1905 and 1960. It's also the last U.S. lightship with its original power plant, and this case it means a steam engine. And as our board president, Andy Bennett, mentioned earlier, it's also going to be the last with a traditional wooden caulked deck, which you can see here. So that's been the big focus on the work on this ship. The rehabilitation work, which has been going on more or less for the past 10 years, has been work on the interiors, revitalizing systems, but first and foremost, getting a new roof on the ship, which is this weather deck. A big part of that was finding large amounts of appropriate quality and size of old growth wood, which is much more difficult in this modern era than it was even 20, 30 years ago. But we were able to do that. The wood that's on the ship right now was sourced by us between 2007 2009. It's about 4 years to cure. Ideally, you want to cure, and by cure I mean air dry. Each piece of wood like this is about a year per inch of thickness. So these deck planks are essentially 4x4s. And there was also a lot of work over the years in documenting archaeologically how the ship was put together originally, and we've done our best to reproduce that. There have been some changes made with the looks towards longevity. But we've also been very fortunate to be here in the Pacific Northwest, where this is one of the last places in the Western world where wooden boat building and wooden ship repair is still an aspect of the maritime industry. So we've been very lucky in that regard, and we've been able to tie in with the shipwright community. For several years, I've had the privilege and pleasure of working with Brian Johnson, who's here with me right now. And he's basically been our project lead for several years now on getting a new deck on this ship. So I can hand the microphone over to him. He's going to talk a little bit about the work we've done on the deck thus far.
Thank you, Saxon. Yeah, my name is Brian Johnson, and I'm a recently retired shipwright. I've been at it for 50 years. And this was one of the last big projects that I was involved in. And so Saxon's talked a little bit about timber. I'll just pull up a piece of timber right now and show you. So you can see this is Douglas fir. Came from a Clanahan mill out in the Forks. So this timber grew on the Olympic Peninsula. And we had to go out and walk on the logs, actually look at these big, beautiful old growth trees. These trees are probably over 1,000 years old. They started growing before the Magna Carta was written. But you can look at some of this wood right here. I know you can't see it, but there's probably about 80 growth rings, 70 growth rings an inch. So these pieces of decking, they're also cut with a slight taper so they can be caulked. So they'll be cotton and oakum driven in these seams with corking mallets or caulking mallets. And we have a few, some of the only union corkers left in the country are in Seattle. And we've got a number of people who can set up and do that. And we use cotton and oakum in the seams, and they're driven with metal caulking irons, and mallets. And they lay, so you can see the thickness of this. Talking about the wood a little bit, I pulled this piece up for you. Here's a piece of wood, and if you look at it, there's 475 growth rings just in this piece of wood right here. So this plank took 475 years. And I drew a circle looking like a slice out of a tree, and where that little black square is would probably be where this timber landed. And this lumber now is becoming non-attanium. You know, these old growth forest trees, there's only a few left, so we probably are seeing some of the last of it. And occasionally we get a piece of it, and it really at this point needs to be left standing. So we had 11,000 board feet of timber to lay this deck, and we had an old-time sawyer, Larry McClanahan, who's no longer with us and whose mill is actually closed down now, was able to procure these logs and do this cut for us. So this is an interesting the process in this ship. We had iron ships still with wooden decks. So underneath this is all iron beams. And usually they're, as we were transitioning to iron ships, during this era they still laid timber decks on it. And they probably did that for about 30 or 40 years, I'm not sure. So it was a real process because the holes, holes in the iron beams are pre-drilled. So we had to develop our own tools to transfer the hole point from underneath the iron beams and be able to point it with a drill jig on the top. So we had to make some of our own tools to be able to do this. It probably took, what did we spend, a year, a little over a year actually laying the deck. But it was a lot of years and a lot of other things prepping. We had to re-drill a lot of the holes in the deck. We had to jack up and put support systems in the deck where it caved in. We had to do fairing strips on the deck. And just the process of planing and making these pieces of wood, we spent about 6 weeks pushing the rough cut planking through planers, through joiners and shapers to create these actual pieces. And then we had to shipyard and load them onto the deck of the ship with a crane. And so we basically covered the whole bow of the ship with lumber, huge lumber piles stacked up here. And then we started laying the decking on the aft part of the ship, working our way forward till we had no more room, and then we transferred the rest of the pile to the stern of the ship and we laid the deck forward. And you can't see, but we laid the very last plank up forward in the center, which is called the whiskey plank. You know, when you put the last plank on, the owner of the boat buys the crew a bottle of whiskey and you sit down and drink it. So we had our little whiskey plank celebration when we got forward on the deck. So some of the things we changed is, instead of having, you can't see it, deck seams run underneath fixed metal objects where they're non-maintainable, we fit Purple Heart blocking underneath it. So Saxon mentioned it early, we traded originality for longevity. So knowing this is the last deck this ship will see, it's the third deck it's had, it's the last one, seeing as there will be no more material, we changed a few things around a little bit so this deck is maintainable. So the next step on this deck is going to be a crew of ship's caulkers laying in cotton, laying in oakum, laying in deck pitch. There's probably about 7,000 feet of seams. We have 70 planks, 130 feet long, and each seam will have a thread of cotton, and the cotton will be threaded, made in and bumped, so 3 passes for each thread of cotton and 2 threads of oakum. So there'll be 3 seams, 3 process there. So and then the seam compound put in. So what you have is for 7,000 feet of caulking, you have to go over it 7 times. So that's a lot of work, and we're very fortunate in this area that we still have some professional caulkers that are older and younger, so there's still some continuity in the process of caulking. And once the deck is completely caulked, then the wheelhouses or pilot houses and radio shack will be built back onto the ship. And maybe Saxon, you can talk about that process and what we've captured.
Thank you, Brian. So a big part of this, as we were mentioning before, is the longevity, the serviceability, but the historical accuracy. So it can be boiled down to, why do we do this? Why are we spending so much effort and money and time on an old ship? Well, the short answer to that is, and this is true of our other boats as well, this is a historic site as well as an artifact. Why do we have museums? We want to show things as they were. We want to represent the blue-collar workforce that built this country, made it what it is. And these vessels that we have here are all the oldest of their kind, whether that's in the United States. In the case of our wooden tugboat, the Arthur Foss, it's probably the oldest wooden tugboat left in the world. And these are National Historic Landmarks as well. That puts them in the same caliber as sites like the Washington Monument. So we do the work because it's worth it, but it's also, the process itself is educational, the end product is educational, but with boats we also have the opportunity to present this as a living thing. Boats, more than most other things, require a lot of upkeep, more manual labor, but it's also a kind of skilled labor that can be translated to a lot of modern day jobs. So we like to keep that tie with the modern industry going. We've been fortunate to be able to do that, as Brian said. And we also have the ability to tie in with more modern technologies, and that'll encompass when we're able to rebuild the superstructure on this boat. Light ships, because they were aids to navigation, were some of the first ships to have wireless. It was later called radio. So we hope to be able to tie into some of the ham radio clubs around here. There's a lot of people, especially in the tech industry, that are interested in vintage equipment as a hobby. So there's a lot of opportunities here, a lot of educational opportunities, really encompassing all the eras potentially that this ship represents. And that's true in other aspects of our other vessels as well. So that's the kind of thing we hope to accomplish by restoring this ship, keeping it a community centerpiece here at South Lake Union, and allowing programming to continue from it and our other vessels, and keeping those ties with the traditional way of doing things, the educational opportunities, but also tying in with what the industry is doing now and where it may head going into the future.
Hi, Saxon brought up something that was important. In the process of working on this, we brought on a lot of younger tradesmen, people that are, had their 5,000 hours in, their 10,000 hours in, because laying this deck gave some of the younger folks the repetition. And some of the problems in the trades now, as they're getting so fewer, is people don't have the opportunity to do something over and over and over again. We call the tactile learning, and get it in their hands. So this also, in the process of doing this, we had, old guys like me and people in their 40s and 30s and 20s working in the process. So we had a nice cross-section of different age people all working together and sharing together and transferring information. And people that worked on this deck and learned the process, the spatial thinking and pattern making and fitting of this, have moved on to other trades that use the same skills. They moved into machine shops, they moved into teaching and in the trades and other things. So this served another purpose. Why we're doing, the building of this deck is to grab a hold of these skills and transfer this into younger people. So some of these traditional things can be carried on with that, the repetition of months and months and months of fitting and working these planks together. So that's another benefit of hanging on to some of these things. It's just letting people have a chance to do some of these skill sets. And then take those skill sets and turn them into something else that they can use for themselves.
I think Brian summed it up really well. As a tradesman and me being more of an academic, it's been very rewarding and fascinating for all parties to work together on something like this. And I feel like that's an opportunity that doesn't happen much these days, but that's another aspect of why we do this. Going forward, like I said, it's preserving the past to benefit the future is a motto we've kind of thrown around for this ship especially. And the work we've done has really emphasized the potential of that. So we really hope to continue working on this ship, get it finished to be presentable. It's never going to be truly finished because maintenance work is always ongoing on any boat. But with your support, we can accelerate the work, get this deck finished, and then really tackle the interior, which on this ship is going to be pretty spectacular. So thank you for your interest, your time, and your support.
To keep the deck project moving forward, we had to put a cover over the lightship to keep the water out until the deck could be made watertight again. But as you can see, this year's windstorms have played hell with our deck cover. It's coming apart, the rain's coming in, and we really need to get a new one on so we can continue our work to seal the deck and finish this project. A new cover costs anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000, and that's money that we could really use as soon as possible to button this up and protect us from the rest of the storms that are coming this winter. It's supposed to be a wet and cold winter, and having this boat covered up again would be really important, will be really important to protecting this deck and moving forward. Thank you.
All right, so Jean's going to take us out with a song.
I'll sing you a song, a good song of the sea.
Away, Rio!
I'll sing you a song if you sing it too with me.
And we're bound for the Rio Grande,
and it's away, love, away.
Away, Rio!
So fare thee well, my pretty young girls, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. We'll man the good capstan and run her around.
Away, Rio!
We'll haul up the anchor to this jolly sound, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. And it's away, love, away. Away, Rio! So fare thee well, my pretty young girls, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. Well, the anchor's away and the sails they are set.
Away, Rio!
And the Seaport folks will never forget, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. And it's away, love, away. Away, Rio! So fare thee well, my pretty young girls, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. So it's goodbye to Sally and goodbye to Sue.
Away, Rio!
To them that's a singing, it's farewell to you, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. And it's away, love, away. Away, Rio! So fare thee well, my pretty young girls, and we're bound for the Rio Grande. And it's away, love, away. Away, Rio! So fare thee well, my pretty young girls, and we're bound for the Rio Grande.
Thank you all. Support Northwest Seaport.
Thanks.
As you know, old boats require a lot of money to keep them in working order, and especially to restore them back to the condition in which we would like to be able to present them to you, the public, and all of our visitors. That's what we're doing tonight, is we're asking for your support to raise some money to do more restoration, to do the preservation work that we need to do, and to support the ongoing programs that we offer to the general public and the educational opportunities that we provide to young people. One of the things we're working on for 2022 is a robust volunteer program. We will be ready to help anyone who wants to come down to the wharf, help us out with taking care of these boats and delivering our programs. Whether you're interested in working in the engine room and getting your fingers greasy, scraping and painting and making our ships look good, or hosting open boats to bring other people on board and help them learn about our maritime heritage, we will welcome you down to the wharf and onto our boats and to join our community of Northwest Seaporters who just love these boats and love taking care of them and love working on board. If you've got high school kids in your family or have high school kids of friends of yours and they're looking for community service hours, our volunteer program is being set up to welcome them aboard as well. There's lots that they can do to help us out, to learn about our heritage, and who knows, maybe they'll end up going to sea someday.
So here's a little rundown. Hail Columbia, when you call back your gems from the ocean. Snow melt water is the soul of your magical potion, where the coho roll in the throes of their savage devotion. This could all change. Where did anyone get such a notion? Ancient giants, fir, cedar, and spruce, better useful than pretty. Cut 'em down, float 'em up to the sawmill at Oregon City. And the fish wheel turn night and day with no effort or labor. Fed your family, your garden, your dogs, cats, your pigs, and your neighbor. No white water where the bridge of the gods finally crumbled. Just a lake now where the song of Celilo once rumbled, where nations danced, fished, and played and were joyful and humble. 2 dams and the curse of a drunk in the dark where he stumbled. In the springtime, through the turbines, your children are twisted. Some chopped so fine that you can't even tell they existed. BPA says, well, it's too bad they can't find the ladder. But the power we make here, that's still the main thing that matters. Oh, sweet Hanford, where your waters are poisoned and heated. 80 years now to make weapons we never have needed. And the trash left behind by this process we found so attractive. For the next 99,000 years will be radioactive. Hey, Grand Coulee, tell me who was in charge of the planning. Did they know what in hell they were damning? Who asked sturgeon, eel, whitefish, steelhead, salmon. So the old ones still say today, flip a switch, kill a salmon. Flip the switch, turn the switch, kill the salmon. Kill the salmon.
Thanks for coming out tonight. We really appreciate all of your bids, all of your donations, all of your time. And we want to thank you in advance for coming down to the wharf next year, coming on our vessels, volunteering with us, and participating in all of the programs that we've got planned for you, including our Classic Workboat Show, our Duck Dodge Happy Hours. We'll be getting underway on the Tordenskjold, and we'll be seeing you on other wharfs as well. So with that, I'm Andy Bennett again from Northwest Seaport. Thank you for everything, and have a great holiday season.